The joint IWU and IPEKA's master's program has an emphasis in curriculum and instruction and is designed to be praxis-oriented. Courses include the integration of faith and learning, the culturally competent teacher, leading instructional improvement, diagnostic assessment for learning, and curriculum for rigor and relevance, among others. The final capstone course is the Action Research Project. This 20th course enables educators to design and conduct learner achievement research. Teachers begin by identifying a specific learning problem in their classrooms. They then research a potential solution, conduct a pre-assessment, implement an intervention over time, and follow up with post-assessment. This school year, IPEKA children are growing more because teachers are using data-based instruction to maximize learning.
Hi, my name is Christian Larsen. I teach grade 11 and 12 psychology at Sekolah Pelita Harapan. For my action research project, I looked into writing strategies. The reason I did this is because what I've noticed for a long time is that students in the social sciences struggle to effectively communicate complex ideas in an essay. So I did a lot of background research on strategies to develop writing, and I came across a group of strategies known as self-regulated strategy development, SRSDs. And these are groups of strategies that aim to improve students' awareness of what they're doing while they're doing it, which is a form of metacognition, thinking about your thinking. And I found one in particular that had a very high effect, which was known as the please writing strategy. So I implemented the strategy with my students in psychology, and I did several pre and post tests. And so I tested things like the writing attitude, I tested their metacognitive awareness, and I also tested just their ability to effectively communicate through an essay. What I found was that students, after learning and using the strategy, mildly improved their metacognitive skills, and they actually became more effective communicators. They did not suddenly become brilliant and scholarly writers, but it was a noticeable increase in their ability to communicate a complex idea in psychology. Thank you.
I'm Jennifer Fullmer Wien, and I'd like to share with you my action research. The title is Using Differentiated Instruction Strategies to Promote Engagement and Motivation. I looked at the research questions of how will differentiated instruction affect student engagement in Year 8 English students, as well as will students stay on task longer as measured by teacher observations and notes, including will students have more work completed as measured by pre- and post-student work samples. I used several assessment tools, and the students were given a pre- and post-assessment student engagement survey to measure their attitude toward Year 8 English tasks and assignments, as well as a post-assessment student self-assessment survey to evaluate the effectiveness of the two differentiated instructional strategies. There were also observations, class logs, and interviews done in class. The action research was conducted for 4 weeks in the Year 8 English classes. 2 new strategies, including the jigsaw method and choice boards, were used to gather data about the students' engagement and motivation. After analyzing the data collected from the 4 classes, 3 of the classes showed an improvement after the differentiated strategies were used. 2 of these classes are also increased in their motivation to do well in English by 21%, as well as another class increasing their motivation by 17%. The results of the interviews showed that 90% of the students interviewed preferred the choice board category strategy due to the ability to explore new methods of doing things, working more with their hands, using their creativity, increasing their critical thinking skills, expanding their way of learning, helping them explore deeper, and it was fun, and it made them more motivated and empowered them to try new things and new strategies. I hope you enjoyed listening to my action research project.
Hi, my name is Grace Morelos, and the title of my action research is The Picture Word Inductive Model in a Kindergarten Classroom. My main research question was, how will using collaborative activities and the picture word inductive model help my kindergarten students develop their written reflection skills? The reason I chose this model is because I noticed many of my kindergarten students at that time had trouble reflecting on their learning, especially doing so in written form. While for many it was obvious that the trouble comes in the writing skills, other difficulties also arise as I went through the process of the whole research. I did my action research during my Around the World unit. The assessment tools for this action research is a 1-page reflection form that asks the question, what did I learn about the given country? To develop my kindergarten students' written reflection skills, I first decided to expand their vocabulary, and I did so by using the picture word inductive model. Based on the sample population's result, it is found that the picture word inductive model is a beneficial learning strategy that helps my kindergarten students develop both their reflective and writing skills. While many lessons and activities should be included to supplement the entire process, the picture word inductive model is a wonderful starting point to not only focus on a theme, but to expand various language skills, as it also promotes writing and vocabulary acquisition. The picture word inductive model also encourages collaboration and other socio-emotional skills that are indispensable for 21st century learners. Thank you.
Research title is The Effectiveness of Scaffolded Silent Reading to Improve 6th Grade Students' Reading Comprehension in IPEKA Integrated Christian School. My research question is, how will modeling scaffolded silent reading, or SCSR, to 6th grade students increase reading comprehension? I used 2 kinds of assessments, which were pre-assessment and post-assessment. Both assessments involve criterion reference, like textbook-made and teacher-made, formative assessments like independent reading time and individual monitoring conference, and I also use their final grades in reading. My strategy plan is for 5 weeks, the grade 6 students engage in a new strategy called scaffolded silent reading. I took field notes and made observations. A teacher-made pre- and post-assessment tools were also used. All the data from the pre- and post-assessments, field notes, and observations were collected and analyzed. It was expected that the research question was answered and that the effect of this strategy upon the 6th grade students participating in the study was positive. My analysis is that the participants showed some growth from the pre-test to the post-test after SCSR treatment. Although there was an increase in scores on the teacher-made assessment, the gains were not significant for the strategy. Improvement was shown in both reading comprehension and fluency. While the data from this study does not appear to be numerically significant, I believe that instruction in independent silent reading is an important part of well-rounded literacy instruction. To be successful in the workforce and continuing education, students must be able to read and comprehend complex texts, and to do this, they need instruction.
Writing skills are an important part of communication. Good writing skills will allow us to communicate our message with clarity and ease to the readers. Knowing this fact, it is important for the students to be excellent in writing. According to the data gathered from pre-assessment, it was found that 4th grade students have difficulties in forming and expanding proper sentences. That is why an action research entitled Improving 4th grade students' writing skills through sentence expansion was conducted. Sentence expansion was expected to be the right strategy to be implemented in improving students' writing skills. Students were to expand the sentences using question words such as when, where, and how to guide. The data gathered in the first cycle is to be analyzed to decide what needs to be improved. In the second cycle, students did what they have done in the first cycle and visualized their sentences in pictures. This is done to increase their motivation in writing. Students' progress in writing was shown through the scores gathered from the rubric. The average score for the sentence structure aspect has improved compared to the score in pre-assessment.
Hello everyone, my name is Rovina. I teach 2nd grade. On a daily basis, my students are struggling with mathematic terms, which affect their ability in understanding story problems. So I did a research on it, and my research title is How Will Pre-Teaching Mathematic Terms Affect the Ability of 2nd graders in Understanding Story Problem? Surprisingly, in a very short period within 3 weeks, more than half of my students have increased their scores in my post-tests. So it's a proof of the strategy of pre-teaching the mathematic terms in the beginning of lessons did affect the ability of my 2nd graders in understanding the story problem. Thank you everyone.
Effective English communicators. This is one of IPEKA's school-wide learning results. Despite the continuous effort to achieve this outcome, motivating students in speaking English has been increasingly challenging. Students are reticent about trying to speak English orally in and out of the classroom because they don't have any clear understanding of the need to do so. Therefore, individual goal setting and self-assessment was implemented to Year 10 students. By inclusion of goal setting before the start of the new topic in class, intrinsic motivations in students are instilled, allowing them to make the proper learning preparations necessary for academic success. Through goal setting and self-assessment, students know their criteria for success and can surmise their performance based on a standard. Goals specify their requirements for personal success and prompting them self-monitoring and self-judgment of personal attainments. This strategy not only increased the linguistic self-confidence of the students and increased their motivation, it also allowed them to realize the need of learning English.
All grade 12 students are required to take the national examination. However, there is wide gap between the learning abilities of the students. How will collaborative learning affect the ability of 12th grade students to increase mathematics skills? Based on quantitative data, through pre-test taken from national exam tryout and the post-test taken through the national exam itself show the increment of their score. Based on qualitative data on students' attitude through observation, interview, and student self-reflection show the increment of students' confidence to face national exam. The learning goals of the lessons were not merely only teaching students to increase their score, but also to build their confidence to speak out their thinking process and to develop communication and social interaction between students.
Hi, my name is Sherly Natalia, and the title of my ARP is about applying concrete, representational, abstract, or CRA strategy to teach ratio word problem solving to my 6th grade students. I conducted the research in 3 stages. During the first stage, which is the concrete stage, my students learned to visualize the context of the story problems by using hands-on materials such as counters. Then my students progressed to the next stage, which is the representational stage, where my students learn to understand how the components in the story problems are connected to each other by drawing diagrams. Then, in the final stage, which is the abstract stage, my students learn to solve ratio word problem solving by using mathematical number sentence. The post-test result showed that this strategy has effectively increased my students' skill to comprehend and also to solve problems related to ratio. By using this strategy, my students do not have to rely on the rigid steps of using formula, but instead, they can comprehend and also design their own solutions to solve problems related to ratio problem solving. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Tom Moore, and my action research project was entitled Year 9 English Vocabulary Learning and Retention. Standardized tests have shown lagging vocabulary proficiency, which raised the questions, could the use of the FLAPS vocabulary tool affect the ability of Year 9 English as second language students learn and retain new vocabulary? Would the use of the tool increase the student's ability to use new vocabulary properly and increase the frequency of use? A baseline was established by administering a pretest of 50 vocabulary words before they were studied in class to determine prior knowledge. After studying them, the exact same test was given as a post-test to determine what learning had occurred. The baseline was set at students who scored above and below 80%. Above 80 was A category, below 80 was B category. To implement the strategy, the researcher created FLAPS worksheets with different designs to appeal to different learners. A FLAPS sheet was completed for each of the 10 new vocabulary words presented weekly over the course of 5 weeks. FLAPS is an acronym for studying a word. F is for forms of the word, such as past tense or plurals. L is for language, which would be the same word in Bahasa. A is for antonyms in English, P is for a pictorial representation, and S is for synonyms in English. The researcher determined that the overall result was successful. 40% of B category students improved to move from B to A, 21% of B students who remain B students improved 30% or more, and 44% of B students who moved from B to A also improved 30% or more.
Hi, my name is Vania Handaja. My research question is, how will using pre-reading, during reading, and post-reading strategies affect the ability of third grade students to comprehend text in history class? The study was conducted in a third grade classroom in IPEKA Integrated Christian School, where more than 1/3 of the class scored below the national percentile in the reading section of their Terra Nova test. I implemented 3 reading strategies for 5 consecutive weeks, namely Anticipation Guide, DRTA or Directed Reading Thinking Activity, and Exit Sleep Strategy. Before reading, students were required to respond whether they agree or disagree with a series of statements given in the Anticipation Guide. During reading, as students read aloud the text, they will be required to stop at pre-selected points to answer questions related to the text. After reading, students revisited their Anticipation Guide and answered their exit slip question. The quantitative evidence indicates that these strategies do not significantly affect the ability of students to comprehend text in history class. Having said that, the qualitative evidence gathered from observations and exit slips show that the strategies were still benefiting the students. I found that the anticipation guide and DRTA strategy were very helpful to increase students' engagement and motivation in the classroom.
I am Miss Vivian and I teach the first graders at IICS. Writing had been my student struggle. About 75% of the grade 1 population were affected by the problem. The first semester grade showed that the writing component got the lowest. So a writer's workshop was implemented in 6 weeks. Every week is focused on a writing trait. It occurs daily within a 20-minute block of time. It opens with a mini lesson followed by an independent writing, during which the teacher conferences with each student, and finally closes with sharing time. Writer's Workshop designed for this study resulted in improved achievement in writing skills as measured by the pre-test and post-test, as well as the first and second semester's writing grades. However, the implementation had no effect on the students' writing attitude.